Yeah, the topic is the process of shoemaking. Um, Making a footwear, it's a big deal. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of initiative. It takes a lot of calculations and all of that. So you would, of course, know that 60 minutes will not be enough for us to achieve anything meaningful in terms of answer. So what I'll just try to do as much as I can is just to, give you an idea of all that gets into an average footwear that is made in Nigeria. I'm not talking about the footwear made in Italy. I'm not talking about the one made in China. I'm not talking about the one made in Turkey. Why? Because our environment is unique. We have our own challenges. You would agree with me. I mean, we do not have regular power supply. Source of raw materials can be challenging and all of that. All right, so I mean, it's not about. I believe you're not going to be learning anything new in particular, but I want us to just use this opportunity to sort of rub minds. Because part of the things that we have, one of the things we're dealing with in Nigeria as shoemakers are a lot of challenges. I've mentioned some of them. We can also talk about consistency in raw materials. You would agree with me? Would you agree with me? Yes. And also the way our products, finished products, are being perceived by fellow Nigerians. Do you agree with me? All right. So you would see people because they know, customers, you see some customers because they know that what you are selling to them is made in Nigeria. The perception about this starts to drop immediately. So that's why you see that some of our colleagues in the same industry would make a footwear here in Nigeria and they rather put made in Italy on it. Yes or no? All right, but I don't believe in that. I believe that, if it is made in Nigeria, we should probably, put made in Nigeria on the product. So what's the first step? What's the first phase of the process of shoemaking? What's the first phase? You see, the first and the last that I'm going to be discussing this morning is the most important. But let me start with the first phase. First phase talks about you creating a concept. The question is, you want to produce a shoe, right? What shoe do you want to produce? You want to create a footwear. What footwear do you want to produce? So you need to be able to have a mental picture of whatever you want to produce. Some persons have asked me over the years, that do you need to be a professional artist? Is it compulsory you're very good when it comes to sketching? No. You don't have to be very perfect in sketching before you can achieve a great design. The most important thing you need in creating your design is ability to create a concept upstairs. Ability to be able to know what you want to put together. And I've seen people try to put some sketches together. It might not make sense to another person, but the person putting those sketches together, they have an idea of whatever thing that they want to do. It's like, going to a doctor, a medical doctor, and they want to write prescriptions for you. You notice that their handwriting most of the time, it's not, legible enough for you to be able to determine. But when you take it to a pharmacist, they'll be able to tell whatever thing that, medication or whatever they want you, to pick up and take. So what am I trying to say here is that you need to first create the concept. What is it that we want to produce? What is it that you want to produce? And it's something that you also need to think about the market you want to serve. So if my brother seated in front of me, probably I saw his footwear and I fell in love with it, and it's the kind of thing I love to wear, it's not enough for me to start to make footwear that look like his. Why? Because the kind of market I'm targeting might not really, fancy the kind of footwear he has with it. So you need to be able to understand what you want to make. You need to understand clearly what decide where you want to major. You can't be a jack of all trades in shoemaking. You can't afford to want to do everything. It's not like it's not possible, but the more categories you want to introduce or you want to make, the more complication and challenges you're going to be dealing with. And remember what I said earlier, and I'll keep mentioning, not because I want to be pessimistic, it's just because I want to just be realistic, is the challenges that we face around here. Okay, now let's assume you've not gotten exactly, you've determined exactly what design you want to make. You've determined exactly what pattern and all of that you want to make. Another thing you need to put into consideration is the materials. So like what I have on this table right now, it's a material that is a mix of suede, nubuck, and leather. So you can't say specifically that this material is suede. It's not that fluffy, when you fit it. All right, but it can pass for a nubuck, and it can pass, as a material that will be suitable for a typical knockabout in neighbors. That's why now that floor price is now 410 naira per liter. You might want to just burn some calories, by planning it to walk some distance to be able to save some cost and transportation. Yes or no? Okay, so you need to identify the material. So for this, for instance, the ideology, the concept around what I have with me here is centered around the footwear that is stylish but yet very rugged. A footwear that when you're caught up in the rain, you're not scared. It's the kind of footwear where, have you seen people, you've probably seen a lot of persons that they got caught up in the rain and they got to a place where it's flooded, and instead of that to just walk through the flood with their footwear, they would have to pull it off and they put it on their head. Have you seen that? Well, for them, they are not sure of the integrity of the material of the footwear that they're wearing. So they rather pull it off. And because they are not sure that they would have enough money, to be able to buy another one. They are not sure that Providence Bank will borrow their money, to go to a nearby store to buy another one. So they rather risk their health, because of course when you walk in floor, you really don't have an idea of what is in that dirty water. You could step on a sharp object or something, So what we had in mind for this is a situation when, you're caught up in the rain, you got to a place where it's flooded, you can walk majestically through flood. And so when you have that in the mind, as an objective, you need to be very, very deliberate and particular about the raw materials that you take. Actually, now you've identified the raw material, but you need to also take a step forward. And I want you to also have it at the back of your mind, the theme for this year's Lagos Leather Fair, which is staying ahead. Staying ahead is for you to be very futuristic, about whatever thing you want to do. So as shoemakers, when you get into the process of shoemaking, it's not enough for you to make the first sample looking very nice. The question is, when I'm done making the sample and I start to sell or advertise on social media or different platforms, and people start to place their orders, are there enough raw materials available for me to replicate the same thing without it changing from what they saw? This thing that now trends on social media. What I ordered versus what I got. So you don't want to be caught out in that kind of situation where they will call a picture of a particular product online, they look at it, they're nothing, they ordered for it, and then when they paid you for you to deliver the same thing, and then you deliver something different. All right? So a lot of time is really not your fault. You have good intention, but one of the things you didn't get right in the process of woodwork fraud is that you didn't spend enough time to ask yourself the question. I've decided to pick this. How much of this quantity is available for production? How much of this quantity is available? Whoever is sending it to us for client, how much of this can I have access to before I embark on this sample? You need to be able to identify, you need to be able to be determined that the material that I've decided to use for this product is available. There are a lot of times we come across samples, you get, our distributor or supplier will call us, I have this particular leather, it's very unique, it's a mix of this and that and this. And I say the next question I ask, even before I decide to send my colleagues to go check your stock, is how much of this do you have? The philosophy we have in our own organization is that if that material is not enough to make an average of 50 pairs, minimum, if it's not enough to make an average of 50 pairs, of the same shoe, we will not rather go into it. So what's the point? What's the point designing, going through all the stress, going through all the process of getting the shoe done? You made it, someone saw it, and the person says, you know what, I want 10 pairs or 15 or 30 or 50 pairs of it, and you cannot respond. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of your creativity, and it's a sheer waste of your talent. So you need to understand, once you've created your concept, you need to start to pick your materials, and you need to then check whether these materials are enough in stock. So like I was trying to say, so this is like the finished product, and this is what led to this. This part more like the behind the scene, So like I said earlier, you would have to get the materials, have your materials stated. Like I was saying, that when you create the concept in your mind, you need to be able to identify all of the materials. Now let us assume now that we have picked this material that we want to use for the production. The next thing now is now to create a pattern. Just a few days ago, a young man had applied to work in our organization. He's been on us was following up through Fred and all of that. We did the first interview, we did the second interview. Man, he came with some really love samples. Good guy, finishing his intact and all of that. Then I asked, the last interview, we gave him some samples of footwears, to make. You've shown us what you've made. Now let us see if you can make some of our designs. So all we gave to him was an idea of a sketch and pictures for him to work with. Then he went on to ask a question. Sir, where is the pattern for this? Or where are the patterns for this footwear? Then I looked at him. He's like a shoemaker. He's like a mechanic. Coincidentally, somehow it was my mechanic that introduced this young man to me. So then I looked at him. So it's like asking the guy that bought you that, or a mechanic coming to tell you that, look, I can fix your car. Your engine is bad. I can fix your engine. But I don't know how to loosen an engine. I can't loosen it. I can't lose it. In fact, I really don't know how to use a spanner to untie bolts and nuts. I really don't know it. But look, when they scatter everything, if they call me Oga Tightener, I will change the back part, I'll couple it together, and then I looked at the guy, I said, young man, you've lost like 60% of what you need as a shoemaker. Why? Because one of the qualities of the process of shoemaking is ability to understand what you want to do, and his ability to stay with your shoe last. Some of us are into shoemaking. Of course, you understand what this is. If you are not a shoemaker, please, can I see your hands up? I know people that are not shoemakers here. Yes. So we call this is not a shoe mold. It's a shoe last. And one of the things I want to, appeal to some of our colleagues about is I'm one of those that are very, very concerned about the industry beyond my brand. Because if the industry is well perceived, if the general industry is seen as big, the value they will place on our product as made in Nigerian footwear would be encouraging, yes or no? So please, as shoemakers, don't ever get tempted to call this a shoe mold. For laymen that are with us this morning, they can afford to call this a shoe mold. Yeah, we would forgive them. But I cannot forgive you if you refer to this as a shoe mold when you're a shoemaker. So this is called a shoe last. LAST, for the benefit of those in our midst that do not understand. I've never been into shoemaking. And I'm sure you probably have seen this around. Yes or no? You've seen it around. All right. So basically, what we need to do, like what my colleague here, Bright, will just try to do, like I said, we don't have all the time to run through the entire process of it, but we just try to, pick on the important parts so that you have an idea of how it goes. So what he's going to do now is that he's going to wrap this shoe last. He's going to wrap it with the masking tape. All right. We would wrap it up completely, just like a typical broken foot with POP on it. Of course, you understand what I'm trying to say. So the whole idea is that you notice that this object, the shoe last, looks like the shape of an average human feet, yes or no? So the idea is this. We want to tape it with this masking tape, and the reason why we're using this vis-a-vis other type of adhesive is because it's made with paper. So he has the advantage of sketching on it with a pencil. So whatever thing, the idea or whatever design you intend to make, you can interpret it on the shoe last, because the entire object has been taped around with the masking tape. So one of the things you need to identify here is that for every one that is put on the last, the next one must lay on it. They need to lie on each other. So the tapes needs to collaborate. Why? Because we want something that will look like a sketch pad. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So the whole idea is that after doing all of that, then you sit with it. There are basic measurements you need to follow. You know, you have the vamp, you have the back height, you have the counter, and some other parts that makes an entire footwear. There are basic, calculations or measurements that you need to follow, according to the size or pattern you want to create. So, for instance, now, this particular shoe last is a size 43. Is a size 43. Now, the pattern you create for size 43 would not work for size 45. So that's why in shoemaking, in creating pattern, you have what we call grading. So by the time you have created one pattern, then you go ahead to grade it into other different sizes that you intend to make. You see, in other parts of the world, I've been privileged in a couple of times to attend leather fairs in Milan, in Italy. And I found out that when I attended, there are some individuals that all they do for a living is just this. All they do for a living is simply what? This. They just cut pattern for brands. You give them an idea of what you want to make. They cut the pattern, and they sell to you. But you see, the uniqueness of our society, of our environment, is that we do everything. So I had a meeting there a few years ago with some different designers in Italy, and they were asking me how we handle our processes, how my brand handles the processes of shoemaking in Nigeria. They want to know who is my pattern cutter, who does my pattern. They want to know who does the cutting of the upper. After creating the pattern, who helps you to create the upper? What organization does that? Then they also asked me, who does your stitching? Because the assumption they have is that you see pattern cutting, creating the upper, stitching the different parts of the upper, it should be different individuals or organizations' responsibility. But Nigeria, we know they carry last. Yes or no? We know they carry last. It's one of the reasons why I love Nigeria as a nation. Not because I'm a Nigerian, but I've been privileged to travel places. And I realized that what one individual in Nigeria can do, especially in our sector, it takes 8 or 10 companies to be able to achieve in other developed nations. And well, it's probably one of the reasons why their product comes out really nice. But I'm of the school of thought that, you see, we can do it in a different way. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm always very big and keen on the fact that there's no one particular avenue in creativity to achieving a great result. Do you agree with me? Yes, there are different ways. So like what we're trying to do right now, I've met a couple of the students that we have trained, because we are quite big when we train people on you using your mind. Beyond what you have been taught, think outside of the box. Do your thing your way. The most important thing is that your customer wants to see a footwear that has been done and made perfectly. Yes or no? All right? So, look at it. So this is it. So what we need to then do is that you then sit with it with a pencil and eraser to sketch the design. So what you see here today didn't just happen overnight. It went through this process. This design was sketched on this and it was extracted from the last. So after you've sketched it on it with a pencil, it's better you use a pencil, except you have not become a wizard or a witch when it comes to drawing a pattern. I know some of our persons, within our organization that now draw patterns with biro, with ink. Why? Because they are almost sure that it's one take. I don't have to erase anything and all of that. So then you then have to cut it out, all right? Extract it gently.
Now, the reason why you can extract it gently is remember that the masking tape, while we're taping the last, they were all lying on each other. Do you remember? So because they all lied on each other, if we would have to extract it, it's easier to extract. So when you extract it, you then paste it on this. So you can paste it on a cardboard like this, or it could be any cardboard. It could be anyone, something just that is, slightly thick, reasonably thick enough to be able to create what? Your pattern. So all the activities that went into this led to what we have here. The masking tape was pasted on a big cardboard, then we then traced it out. So this is it. This is one piece of it. This represents what you have here in front, which is what we have here. All right? Then, these other parts represent this. Okay? So what it means, is that we'll take this and move it straight to here. We'll mark this pattern on this material. Preferably, you are advised to mark it at the reverse because of Bible stains, your marking pen and all of that. And of course, this is a sample of what it looks like. It's like a silver pen. It's erasable, but because of some certain material, it's just, advisable that you do it on the reverse. Do we all understand? All right, I haven't done all of that. You can either use a pair of scissors to cut it out gently, or you could use a knife. So you could use a cutting knife with a cutting board to cut it out. The most important thing is, however, you can extract your upper that has been marked on this in a very neat manner. You can do it. If you can use a kitchen knife, who says you can't use it? So like I said earlier, what you should be particular about in shoemaking, you can decide to create your own program. But the most important thing of everything you want to do is that the end product, whatever the thing you're going to achieve at the end of the day, must be worth it. Are we together? Are we all together? So having done all of that, then you have to use, you need to use a bow stick to put them together gently. You put them together gently, then you make use of sewing machine to then stitch them together. Then when you give this a very close look, you realize that we have stitches on this. And like I was trying to tell you earlier about being very creative when you make footwear. Some time ago, some of the students that had gone to our academy, came back after like 2 years and said, "Sir, I've discovered another way to put all of these things together, without using sewing machine. For whatever reason, these gentlemen do not like the idea of using sewing machine. Just like any other thing, any other profession, there might be aspects of that your profession that you really don't like, but you must do. So he told me that, "Sir, I came up with an idea." I said, "What's the idea?" So what he did was, he got punch. Do we have punch here? So we have what we call a punch, a leather punch. I'm sure some of us have seen it. So what he did was, everywhere where you need to put together or join, it would then perforate holes on them, tiny holes on them. Then he got ladies weave-on needle. Ladies, your weave-on needle, that long one, right? Yes, okay. Then he got the weave-on needle, and he got thread, like a typical thread. The thicker one we call moccasin thread, and then he used it to knit it together. All right? And it would fit with it, and of course that would take more time, but it just gives it another feel. It makes it feel very bespoke. It makes it feel couture. And I remember that he did a lot of them. I had a couple of them for a period of time. I wore some of those shoes for more than 3-4 years. Why? Because everything on that shoe, no machine work, everything was strictly handmade. So I also want to point out that shoemaking majorly has two aspects, the process of shoemaking. You have the handmade shoes and you have the industrial shoemaking. a lot of the ones we practice here in Nigeria for now, 90% of the shoemakers you see in Nigeria have moved around they make handmade shoes. And look, if you look at it from the international value placed on handmade, our shoes are meant to be very expensive. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me, shoemakers? Yes. But you see, that's one of the reasons why we need to do things right. We need to be able to, think ahead. We need to be very creative so that we would be able to get to that point where when they walk up to you, they know all that you do is almost like 95% handmade, so they'll pay you the value for it. A few years ago, I was I can't remember where I traveled to, so I got into a store, one of the renowned brands. I got into the store. I saw the same type of shoes, 3 different types of shelf with the same set of shoes. And I noticed that the price tag on this shelf seems to be more expensive. I can't remember precisely, but let's just assume that the shelf here was the price tag on the shoes there, it's 100 euros. Then the next shelf was 150 euros. Then the last one was about 300 euros. So I was curious. I was like, what's going on here? How will I say, as a sharp Niger boy, how will I come into this store? I saw the same shoes, same looks for 100 euros. I saw another one for 150. I saw another one for 300. Come on. Which one would you buy? Someone said 150. Which one would you buy? 100, of course, because they look the same way. So I called on one of the attendants and I said, please explain to me why this is this way. Then she told me to come closer. Then I saw a tag, a smaller tag on it, to tell me the amount of human effort that went into the production of those shoes. So the first one had less human effort. It was barely 10 or 15% human involvement. So they say 15% handmade. The next one is about 40% handmade. The last one was about 70% handmade. Meaning that the things that machines would normally do, they didn't allow machines to do for the ones on this side. They rather allow you use your hands. Like you have some car brands in the world that a lot of it are built manually with the hands, with less involvement of robots and all of that. So what we do here in Nigeria, ladies and gentlemen, it's more of 90% handmade. That's the one on this side. But unfortunately, our customers we don't have the right orientation for them. We are not giving them the narrative they need to hear to be able to respect why you are selling it that expensive. A lot of people do not understand the difference between the one of 300 euros and the one of 100 euros. Yet, you find some of your customers that traveled abroad, they buy a shoe of $1,000, the heel goes off, and they run to you, yes or no. And that's when they start telling you, I love this shoe. Abiodun, this shoe costed me $1,000. There's a particular one we're trying to fix. The man told me, sat me down in his house. He said, this shoe. When he was going to start, his wife walked out. But the wife was tired about that shoe. He said, I bought this shoe 25 years ago. When I bought it, we were barely 100 that had this shoe. He explained the designer. He explained the fact that designer does not make too many shoes in a year. And was privileged to be one of those that bought it. Guess how much I bought it? So I was looking at it, I said 1,000. He said, come on. I bought this $2,500. So you see that soul? When you are changing it, please have that at the back of your mind. So when I was leaving his house, I quickly checked, called one of my friends, Alpha, how much is dollar today? So I converted. Then I realized that what I had in my car was a shoe that I bought, say he bought it like 15 years ago, that amount of money. So that means that shoe at that time, in today's economy, is worth probably 2 million naira. So I decided to park my car, open my trunk, pick the shoe, and I kept it on the owner's corner. Yes, because I don't want to hear that it was when I was picking out my bag, the shoe for one leg fell. I don't want to end up with the EFCs. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? But what am I trying to say here? is the fact that a lot of the things we do, the process we are going through this morning, is is the kind of process the people that do handmade shoes get themselves involved in. So, and I know if I start to ask from everyone seated here, aside maybe Farmad, that has a big factory, yes, former Bata, that has a big factory and all of that. But a lot of us here, we do handmade shoes. Yes or no? Can I see your hands if you do handmade shoes? Yes. Yes. So, as much as possible, one of my assignments today is to let us know that there is a lot of value in what we do. There's a lot of value in what we do, and it's the reason why we need to pay attention and stay faithful to the process of shoemaking. And like I said earlier, it's not enough for you to see a material. You walk into Mushi and see this piece of leather. It looks very beautiful. I decided to create a design. You've created a design, and you are privileged to meet some group of friends. They are planning one of their friends' wedding, and they want all the groomsmen to wear the same thing, same material, and say, Baba, we want shut down everywhere. This guy is married at the age of 55, so he wants to shut down. So the bridal train or the groomsmen would be over 20 people. So can you make for everybody, in your mind, you have one jackpot? The first thing you did was to call your pastor, your imam, say, Baba, that prayer you made for me, God has answered it. Only for you to get back to the market. I know my Igbo brothers. You know what they will tell you? I mean, what would they tell you? Where? Park in store. We had similar experience. We were supposed to make about 5,000 products for an organization. And they gave us the shade of leather they needed. And so I took that shade of leather, sent it to the market, and they gave us, it was a shade of red. And we made a sample. Wow, approved. The guy just said, approved. And you see, our usual culture, I asked the young man, how many of this do you have in stock? So, guy, he did. He full pack in store. I said, are you sure? He said, yes. I think go ahead, Baba, does they go, nothing they happen. So I called the guy back. The day I got the approval, I called him in the night. I was so excited. Yes, now let's get the job done. Oh yeah, okay, we are coming tomorrow. Open your packing store. We are going to pack every shade, anything that looks like this leather. So, guy, before you come, I go check well. I go call you back. And they called me and said, oh, God, we don't pack the one we did. So went with so much excitement. And I got to his shop. I said, yeah, wait them. He said, I ain't there your front. I saw it. Barely enough to make 20 pairs of shoes. And we're talking about 50 pairs. We're talking about something really huge. And the contract I signed, when I saw the figure, they told me where to sign. I just signed. In my head, let's do the job. Come on, this is what we have been waiting for. We get it done. I signed. After signing, so I was thinking to myself, what am I going to do? Something just said, Abiodun, go back to the contract. I opened the contract. When I started reading English, I called my lawyer. I sent it to the lawyer. The lawyer said, why didn't you let me read it before you start? He said, what they've said here is this. If you don't deliver on time, the date in that contract, and you do not use the material they approved, you are going to refund the offer they give to you, and they'll blacklist you. In my head. Then as I prayed to my mother that had died many years ago, say, see your son, I'm in trouble. So one of my friends then told me that you've been talking about for some Tana friends you have in Kano. So I took that leather. The next flight, the following day, at the first flight, I went to Kano. And I had to go to about 3 or 4 tanneries before they could get that shade, that particular shade of red. And they had to run a sample for me to be sure. So I placed it. It's not Kinikon code. This one is not about code. The people that are getting this thing for me, they are not checking code. They are going to place that sample on the products. So once it's turquoise red, ladies help me. Is anything like turquoise red? Once your red is looking like something red, you are done. So it was then I knew the importance of you checking well. before you embark on your design. So having done all of that, you then place it on the last. So there are a lot of things that get into. So we have upper, we have insole. That's what goes in between the sole. Of course, as a customer, you don't get to see it. Then you have what? The sole. And that's why when you see a typical shoe made abroad, you see the footwear symbol on the shoe. And you see what this is made up of in symbol. You see what the inner lining is made up of in symbol. Talking about this part. All right? And then you see what the sole is made up of. You must have seen that in shoes. You must have seen that in shoes. All right. So inside here, we have the cardboard and we have the sub-marco. A lot of times, people just stick to cardboard alone. But you see, one of the things I want us to always have at the back of our minds is that the world is now, for footwear, the world is now tilting more to comfort and usage. Am I right? The world is now tilting more to what? Comfort. A kind of footwear I can wear now and decide not to put it off in the next 10 days and I'll be fine. No, that's an exaggeration. But I'm talking about something really comfortable and preferably very light. So when you're doing that, you need to think of every means possible to ensure that what you have inside of the shoe is comfortable. All right, so what we use in our organization is the one that comes together. The fiberboard comes what? With what? Please answer me now. Marco, help me, my people. Is what? The fiberboard and what? The Marco. They all come together like this. It comes as a piece. It's usually more expensive than this. So some persons, because they are trying to save costs, they would rather do this, all right, to create the footwear when they are lasting it. So what we did was we cut the shape of the base of the last to create this from this piece. Do we understand? All right? So some persons would rather just use this alone. But the truth about the matter is that the looks of your shoe can attract the customer. Some customers are inquisitive enough to want to wear it before they pay for it, to check how comfortable the shoes are, yes or no. Some persons might just buy it because of the looks and might never be able to wear it. And for every footwear that you make and is sold, and the customer is not able to wear it, it's a big loss to you. So like what I usually say, a good footwear, one good footwear, has the potential of attracting 1,000 other footwear in terms of customer sales. And see, the process of shoemaking is not complete. Remember when I was starting, I talked about the last stage, which I'm going to get to shortly, which is how you get it and present it to the final consumer. So whatever you're making that someone just buys because you want to encourage made in Nigerian products, I don't like that statement. It's okay, it's fine, I understand, but please buy it because it's made in Nigeria, buy it because the footwear is comfortable. You've not succeeded as a shoemaker if you don't get feedbacks from your customer, giving good reports about what they have bought from you. Like I said, for every footwear that is well made, that footwear has a potential of attracting an average of 1,000 other footwear in orders. All right? So let's assume we've created this now. So Brad is going to try to start to, put it together. We'll try to last it. The process of putting the upper, okay. So the process of converting what we have here that we've stitched together to make this full product is what we call the lasting process. You remember that this is the last. The process of converting this upper into this shoe is what is called what? The lasting process. So it's going to run through the lasting process. Is attaching the insole, the cardboard, at the base of the last with a tack nail. Please, mind you see these things is one of the things. If you have to get a board in your workspace to put, remember to remove your tack nails you use for lasting. It is very important. I know why I'm saying so. Because you could get to a level where you get so carried away that after all said and done, instead of you forget to remove this and you do this. Then you gum it. People, shoemaker, I can see some of my shoemaker colleagues shrinking because they know the implication of that. Yes. So then after you're done and you want to pull out the last, then it seems that there's a principality in the shoe that's refusing to let the shoe go. So it's even good on time. There are situations where you'd have put it out, you put the inlay, the leather inlay, and then the person wears it. It feels like Jesus Christ being nailed on the cross again. So you don't want to do that. Very, very important. Especially if that customer is a first-time customer. All right, so he's doing that. And part of the things that goes in there are stiffeners. We have one here, and we have one at the back. So this is the one that stays at the back, and this is the one that stays in front. So just follow him as I explain all what he's doing. So while you're doing all of that, another thing I want you to, while he's doing it and you're watching and you're listening to me, another thing I want you to take into consideration, it's the finishing, what the inside of the shoe looks like. Have you ever been offered to rent an apartment before you're doing house hunting? And agents now in Lagos, right? Have you ever experienced, anyone there that have experienced agents? They'll tell you, say, there's one apartment. There was a time we're trying to get a big space. And the guy said for production, moving our factory, the guy said it's a warehouse. When we got to the place, he said, this is the warehouse. I said, where? I saw shops. He said, it's a warehouse. I said, what's warehouse about this? He said, it didn't do like this. So what am I trying to say? You probably get to an apartment that you're open to rent, and the exterior looks very good, right? Painted, really looking nice, and your mind, oh yes, 40%. Let me go in and check. Is it marble flooring? Is it wooden flooring? Is it whatever? Is it tiles? Is it POP? Right? Then you walk in. As you're walking in, the first thing you see is toilet. You pass through the toilet, the restroom, the convenience before you get to your living room. I had an experience with one of our workers. He just said, "Okay, let's go and check my apartment together, please, so that you can advise me." When I got into the apartment, then in the living room, the restroom and the bathroom, the window of the restroom and the bathroom is in the living room. Yes, in this Lagos. The windows of the restroom and the bathroom, they are in the living room. So I asked the agent, I said, "Sir, please, I want to ask a question. So what happens that this young man has a guest, and the guy gets in there and does all the, then what happens? You know what the guy told me? Then you leave the main door open." He said, "Sir, you leave the main door open so that, so what am I trying to say? You don't want the exterior of your shoe to be very nice, and the inner looks very ugly. You have gum stain, you have dye stain, the inlay is not balanced. Why? Because when unconsciously, when your customer is looking through the shoe, he looks at the exterior and then pays attention to what? The interior. One of the things we do regularly in my organization is that we come up with different concepts on how to improve our interior. Okay, what do we do? Should we use zigzag scissors? Should we give it extra padding? Should we sew it? Should we make a contrast from what you have inside, on the shoe, from what you have on the wall of the shoe, the lining inside of the shoe? Should we just create a contrast? Should we ensure that the thread we use to stitch the inlay is the same color with what you have on top? Something that just looks nice, giving it extra aesthetics. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So you can see what he's doing now. One of the things that you need, you see, talking about handmade shoes. You see what he's trying to do? If you had a seat lasting machine here or a toe lasting machine, this would have been done in few seconds. All right, you just put it closed.
The winner.
So you just put it closed, and what he's doing, if we're using a seat lasting machine or and because you have to use seat lasting for the back, and you have to use toe lasting for the front. If you had those two machines here as we speak, it would have been done. Now you see the difference. Now the guy that is operating a seat and a toe lasting machine, by the time he's done with a pair of shoes, by the time he's done with maybe 100 pairs of shoes, we'll probably then go for lunch. But you see this guy, when he's done with one pair of shoes, he will not just go for lunch. He will go for fufu, every lunch. Now you see why you should pay more for handmade shoes. Can you, are you with me, guys? So we need to run a campaign and a documentary to be able to change the narratives about it. And you see, the ways we can change the narratives is for us to be bold enough to explain why they should pay more than that shoe that came in from China, Turkey, or Italy. You see, the shoes, there was a time, one of my visits to Italy, I was with one of my friends. This guy is an addict of Pasciotti. He's an addict. He buys Pasciotti shoes a lot. Very expensive. Then he told me that there's a particular store where they sell Pasciotti, because all the shoes, Pasciotti shoes in that store, are all handmade. By the time you go into that store and you buy maybe 4 pairs of shoes in a year, be rest assured that police will come and knock on your door. Because the authority would come check their invoice and receipts. That, can we see the people that bought shoes from you? Abiodun had bought 5 pairs of shoes from you in 1 year. Where does he stay? Who is he? Why? Because of the costs of it. They want to know where I make money from. For me to be able to afford that. We should get to that level in Nigeria where people will be able to, have prayed to God to save enough money to be able to buy what we have to offer. So after all said and done, we'll then grind it. A lot of us know grinding machine. Some people call it filing machine. So as much as possible, like I said earlier, let us as much as possible understand the international interpretation for some of our terminologies. Some years ago, I went to a store, a factory in Italy where they make slippers. And the Lagos in me saw a slippers. Guess what I called it? Palm. I said, I even said it with phone. Excuse me, please. Can I see the palm? And they were like, sincerely, they were confused. Palm. So one of them looked at our palm, like, did you understand? So that's no, sorry, that meant the slippers. So then I called and asked, sorry, what did you call it? I said palm. Says there's nothing like that. So when I go back to my hotel room, then I went online to search for palm. So please, you can search for palm slippers. I'm sure the result, if you get any result of slippers, is our people. Now we go. Palm slippers, 35,000, 15,000. So really, there's nothing like palm slippers. It is sandal. Whether he has a strap at the back, you are wearing a sandal, sir. Whether he has a strap at the back or not, is what is called a sandal. You know why I'm saying this? Because we want to stay ahead. We are not going to operate at this level forever. We need to start thinking internationally. So let us assume, let's look forward to a time where we have Lagos Leather Fair and we would have visitors from all over the world. And the airport will be busy. Why? They are coming to buy our special designs, our African touch, the designs and all of that. That has some African touch and we're getting to with it. And because we have good number of people, over 200 million people, we can afford to have a lot of handmade shoemakers because of our population. So they rather come here to buy handmade cheaper than what they will get in their countries. So when they come, don't display your product with palm collection. I've heard all sorts of names. Please, let's try to get used to some of the pronunciation. So you see leather sew, for instance. Under the leather sew, you see, we see things like, please help me now, my brother. We are all learning. We see very kudu, right? Very what? Very kudu. What does that mean? What does very kudu mean? when we see that logo, you know, it's usually in the logo of leather, the leather symbol. It means that that sole is made of what? Leather. So, push me again. I saw the sole. I saw a lot of, soles. I just saw very good. I said, wow. I felt it. Really thick, really nice, well finished. I said, whoa, I love this very good. It's nice. They looked at me and shook their head again. That is Bush guy. And they corrected me immediately. That is not, he's Italian. And there's no D in the word. It's C-U-O-I-O, meaning verocoio. That's an Italian word for real leather soap. Coio. So they told me to get my phone and I recorded it. Verocoio. So it took me time for me to understand. So if we get to the point where we start to label our own as an identity for Nigerian shoemakers, and we call it real Pomoso, do you understand? Let it be that we all agree and we take that narrative into the international space. All right? So that when they also want to refer to leather soles made in Nigeria, what would differentiate us from the ones made in Italy is what? Real Pomoso. Are we together? Have we agreed on that? Real Pomoso. I was privileged recently to be part of a summit. So we're discussing how to discourage people from eating pomo. Although I also love pomo. But how do we stop eating pomo? Because over 90% of the cow killed, instead of us converting it to leather, we convert a good chunk of it to pomo. And if we had converted it to leather, we would have made more money in Forex. My banker understand what it means to sell leather out of the country and we pull in dollars or euro or pounds into the economy. So we all sat down with a lot of stakeholders and we're thinking of how to do it. An average of 15 million cows is slaughtered in Nigeria every year, 15 million. 1.5 million of those are used for leather. 13.5 is in our tummies as pomo. So why can't we just change the narratives that the pomo you used to know that we consume, you can then find it in the quality of your sole and the upper. So that soon we'll then write it in this international space, on the sands of time, on engrave it in the minds of people globally, that the soul is what? Real pomo soul. Real pomo. So we can give it an acronym. So if there's nothing we're going to take out of this, let us have it at the back of our mind. That someday we'll start to see our peers, and you'll be able to brag anywhere in the world that I was there when we talked about it. We talked about it together at Lagos Leather Fair, the Staying Ahead edition, that beyond just relying on terminologies or things that the world has given to us, let us create our own terminology. There's nothing wrong in creating our own terminology. Even if it's that we call it palm, boss, more call it palm. So let's call it palm and give it a narrative. So when we get to the international stage or international space, we'll be able to explain to them why we call it palm. Yes or no? Yes or no? When I dug deeper, I started asking questions. There's a mentor I have that started shoemaking the year I was born. So whenever I go to him, I say, sir, I've come again. You know, Daddy, you started this thing the year I was born. He will start to laugh. So I started asking him about different designs of slippers that had been in vogue in the past. Do you know what I found out? You know, there's a particular slippers, that the top, the upper, is like a shape of a leaf. Shape of a leaf. You remember? Shape of a leaf. Then it has like a toe holder. Yes. Yeah. You know, like a shape of a leaf, the toe holder. That time, if you have it, some of them will use that part and they'll use snake skin for that part. Those days, to know guys will get money, you know, some of them you find out that, okay, this part is snake skin or something. Then I found out that my own thinking, that the shape of that commonest design of slippers is the shape of a leaf, like a palm leaf. So could it be that we got that name for slippers as palm? Please give me the thoughts. Do you get it? Palm sandal, palm sandal, palm sandal. Just like we gave cars different names. We wake up big for nothing. End of discussion. Evil spirits. We are good at giving names in Nigeria, but we don't stay by it and we don't create an institution around it. So ladies and gentlemen, we're almost done because our time is almost up. But the whole idea is you can have, with what he is doing, you have a better picture of where it will end. Yes or no? You have a better picture of where that will end. You see, I haven't done all of this. You then pay attention to take out stains. You've seen ladies do makeup. When ladies are doing makeup, please, apologies to the ladies. Permission. They don't talk when they are doing makeup. Have you noticed? Yes or no? Ladies don't talk when they are doing it. Why? Because everything has to be what? I like. So one day, as a little boy growing up, I looked at my mommy. I went to her room. She was doing makeup. I was asking her for something. I think it was chocolate or... I was, mommy. She just, shut up. Don't you take her to say I'm doing makeup. It's the same way. We need to pay attention to our finishing. When you are doing finishing, avoid distraction because your attention is needed. You need to take out the slightest stains and all of that. Get it cleaned up. In 2 minutes, let me quickly tell you what the final stage is. Production is not complete until it gets to the final consumer. Yes or no? Some of us did production in commerce in school, right? Production is not complete until it gets where? To the final consumer. That's your customer. Your customer do not have any business of how the stress you went through and all of that to make the footwear. But it needs to see some level of aesthetics so that he or she will be glad to pay whatever amount he or she is paying for your product. Your appearance. Now, your appearance, because of the digital age, your appearance could be your IG handle, your Facebook account, your website, WhatsApp, and all of that. Please, you need to be deliberate about your shots, how you take pictures of these products. It's easier for you to appreciate this if I pass it around. But not everybody will have the privilege to pass it around. We have customers in different countries in Africa. We have customers in different countries in Europe. And one of the ways for them to have a feel of what we are feeling is good shots. You need to take good pictures. Good pictures. If the reason why you want to change your phone is because of the quality of your camera, please do it. Don't buy the phone because that phone is what is in vogue. Buy it because the camera is good enough to snap your product. Then also your looks. If you have to deliver this thing to your customer, don't look like the process of shoemaking. A lot of people look like process of shoemaking. Their footwear looks very ugly. Some average shoemakers, they forget about their own footwear. Yet they make the best of footwears. It's bad for the process. It kills your creativity. It kills your efforts. Smell well, buy perfumes, buy oil perfume, buy cheap ones. Just look good, appear good. Let people question you and say that you are not a shoemaker because of the way you look. Then the last is your packaging. Invest money in designing a good logo. Don't let your carrier bag has your address in it, has like 5 different pictures of shoes. You cannot capture all the shoes you have done. Let the attention come on the logo. The logo, the name, and let it be consistent. Invest on packaging. If you cannot pay a brand consultant, go to Somolu. Start to look for guys that have done some designs. Create something nice for a start. And let it be consistent. Let it be regular. Invest some money, fraction of what you are getting from the shoe. Invest it in the packaging. We have some of our customers that after giving them their product, they will now beg for carrier bag. Extra, please. I'm traveling tomorrow. I want to use it as hand luggage. Once it gets to that, the value they place on your shoe will skyrocket. My time is up. Thank you.
Okay. Fantastic. Please, a bigger round of applause. That was amazing, right? I'm not sure if we have time to take questions real quickly. Does anyone have questions?
So, good morning. Yeah, my name is Olu Okikiola. Well done. Then you talked about staying ahead of the curve, which I find very, very attractive. And, that's where the conversation should really be going towards, staying ahead of the curve. So I also think to stay ahead of the curve, we should talk about how to improve our production process. He's making a shoe. If we have an invention, they say, is the mother of necessity. So how can he make more shoes in shorter hours? And how can he make different copies? For instance, remember that we do not have, we have different economic classes here. What someone in this room can afford, another person cannot afford. So why can't we have like different copies like we have for these guys from China? They have different grades for different classes. So how do you reconcile all of this?
Thank you. What's your name again? Pardon? Okikiola? Okay.
Okikiola. All right. Yeah. So I really love that. Yeah, I wish I had enough time. I would have delved into some of those things. But recent, like 3 days ago, I was privileged to be part of the committee or delegate with SON, Standard Organization of Nigeria. What we're trying to do is to create a standard, draft a standard that an average shoemaker must go through. All right. A lot of times, the ignorance in the sector is not deliberate. It's by virtue of where we learnt and how we got into the business. So by the time we will tell you that before you start, you must have these certain things. Why are we doing that? We want to ensure that your outputs is something that people will be glad to pay for. That's consumer protection. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Then another thing is, the government empowering the sector. We need regular electricity. We need grants. We need flexible loan packages, single-digit loan. Of course, we have Bank of Industry and all of that. But beyond having all of those benefits in place, we, the stakeholders, we need to also stay very committed. We need to stay what? Very committed. Because it's one thing for you to have what it takes to succeed. It's another thing for you to make use of what it takes to succeed. We have a very robust eyes and skin sector in the northern Nigeria. But an average Lagosian or someone in my sector is not ready to relocate to the north and sit with that sector to make us enough quality materials, because you understand what we need per time to be able to do it. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Yes, we need to put a bit of pressure on the government, and we also need to put a bit of pressure on ourselves, because once those things have been made available, the question is, are we ready to give it all it takes? All it takes. Like I said, the beginning of the process and the end of the process especially is where the work is. Dedication, commitment, doggedness is needed. Unfortunately, we are getting to a point, in our generation that a lot of people want it now and they want it fast. They are not ready to sow the time. They are not ready to sow the effort. They are not ready to be criticized that, guy, you can get this done better. So, of course, by the time we have that kind of enabling environment and we have the committed stakeholders that are ready to make the best use of those facilities, those opportunities, those privileges that we have, then, of course, naturally, we would have different categories of footwears. We would have the mass production made from PUs, not real leather, that you can buy like 1/10 of what you get of the counterpart that is made of leather. Yes, we have a lot of, we are over 200 million people. I was telling one of our students, I said, imagine that I gave you an order to produce 1 million shoes in 1 year. You would die. You would just die of heart attack. When they check you, they'll say it's because of the order. Check 1 million. And it's in Nigeria, you see one person have 100 pairs of shoes. We have more than 50 customers that have more than 100 pairs of shoes, and they are still buying. If I check my phone now, maybe 1 or 2 of them would have called. I just made some new clothes. I need to buy new shoes. All right? Same with Africa and some other parts of the world. So naturally, once those benefits are there, some of them are even there already, but a lot of us are not paying attention. Recently, one of my colleagues told me that there's not a machine. We use the same supply of sewing machine. The guy went to China and invented a particular machine, motor, that is inverter. He doesn't use the big motor that you have under your sewing machine. It's like a small pack like this. It's an inverter sewing machine. So that guy shut down his diesel generator, now he uses petrol. Why? Because all his machines are now inverter sewing machine. So they are there. How are you making the best use of it? How are you putting effort into it? Because there's money in this sector, in this nation. In case you want to jackpot, you can see jackpot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have one more question and we'll have to take a break so that we can converge for our first conversation. What's your name, sir, and what do you do?
It's
Morning.
everybody. My name is Ikili Andrew. The Director of Policy Analysis Statistics and International Relations from the Nigerian Institute of Leather Science Technology and Lagos. Talk about leather in Nigeria. So,
You're welcome, sir.
I was talking about the Power Summit.
Yes, we're there.
Yeah. So, and I'm also representing the National Steering Committee on leather product policy implementation plan in Nigeria. And my question is this. I attend many fora, and I ask this question. Most of us here, or maybe about half of us here, we are shoemakers. Why is it that some of us are not proud enough to put made in Nigeria? I know you mentioned it. Made in Nigeria in our products. Even though we are very broad and I see many made Nigeria products, but many of us are not still proud enough. I think we should even talk about it. What is the problem with us? I don't know about mentality and all sorts of things. Please, I want to be educated.
All right, thank you so much. I'm very interested in what you say, Mr. Agili. Yes, I'm Mr. Andrew. Yeah, we are at the Pomo Summit together. All right. Sir, let me talk to you as a government representative. And I remember when we had the Pomo Summit, you know, we have representative from Nigeria Orientation Agency. What does Nigeria Orientation Agency do? Is to give us orientation of what is happening. And it goes beyond the borders of our country. It's to be on CNN. It's to be on different platforms. You see a country like Rwanda, they'll tell you about the benefits of coming to Rwanda. You see a country like South Africa, they'll tell you all the benefits of South Africa. All right? For instance, Lagos Leather Fair, NOA should take it upon themselves to put it on international platforms. That there are great guys in Nigeria that make footwear. Sir, when the government does that for us, it's like a father coming to pat his son on the back and say, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased. It will build his confidence to want to do more and to put proudly made in Nigeria or whatever he wants to do. So please encourage us.
Yes, absolutely fantastic.
Encourage us to build our self-esteem. Some of us had to just do it. And one of the ways we did it, we went out there to Italy. I went a couple of times. And they told it to my face, you have everything. You have everything the sector needs. So for once again, I brought out my green passport. And I said, I'm proud to be Nigeria. But as far as leather is concerned, the leather sector is concerned, we are one of the best in the world. But the government, tell the world about us. Tell the world about us. We are not just known for Yahoo Yahoo. We make the best shoes, one of the best shoes in the world. Yes.
Fantastic. What a fantastic way to land. And to wrap this workshop up, I want to say thank you to everyone that's attended. I hope that this was valuable. I'm sure that it was valuable for you and worth your while. Thank you very much to our speaker. Thank you very much, Abiodun Folawiyo. Ladies and gentlemen, a bigger round of applause.